So you're doing 20, maybe $25,000 a week, or maybe even more, maybe it's 30 or 40. And you worked so hard to get here, and now you're starting to think, maybe it's time to expand. A food truck, a second location, maybe something completely different, fine dining, a bar, a takeaway, a different concept that allows you to be creative. And honestly, the instinct makes total sense. You've built something amazing, now you are ready to grow it and you want to do more. And here's what we've seen happen over and over to owners at this exact stage. They expand, and instead of getting something better and bigger, they just make all of their problems bigger and their headaches larger. So today, we're going to talk about expansion, and expansion in the right way. What actually works, what actually looks good on paper but destroys your margins, and what you need to have in place before you open anything new. Let me paint a picture. You're doing $22,000 a week, and you might be doing more, you might be doing less. You're busy most days. You've already got a team that runs the business almost by themselves. And now you're thinking, if this works here, it'll work twice as well with 2 locations. And it's a total natural thought. And it's where a lot of good businesses go sideways, because there's a thing about doing $20,000 to $25,000 a week in revenue. In that band, most people don't talk about it. The revenue is there. However, the profit isn't always where it should be. So we've worked with owners doing $1.1 million a year who are paying themselves less than their head chef, and they can't figure out why. And the answer is almost always the same. The food cost is creeping up, the labor isn't planned tight enough, so there's inefficiencies in the model, and there's 1%ers, the small things that are eating into the profits. Nothing big, but they all compound, and no one's tracking it. So before we even talk about expansion, I want you to ask yourself one question. If your revenue declined tomorrow, would you feel safe? Would you feel financially secure? Not flatline, not stay the same, declined from exactly where you are right now. Would you feel calm? Do you have enough cash in your bank to cover what potential losses that you have? And if the answer to those questions is no, then expansion right now isn't your next move. Tightening up is. And that's okay. Because if you open a food truck or a second location with an operation that's not scalable, you don't get a better business. You're going to get a better headache. And I want to be clear here. That doesn't mean don't expand. That doesn't mean never expand. It just means expand from a position of strength with a strong foundation, not of one of desperation. And there's a massive difference between the two. So let's actually talk about the options, because when you're an owner at your level starts thinking about expansion, it usually comes down 4 parts. First, it's a food truck or a food trailer, a second venue with a totally different concept, or an upmarket shift into fine dining or a premium bar, something premium, something that you have a number for. And I'm going to walk you through each one today. And I'm going to give you the honest version, not the dream, but what these actually look like from a financial position. So let's start with the food truck or the food trailer, which is a total classic path. I want to grow, I've got some capacity, and I don't want to have on the extra overheads, like an extra lease. I don't want to take on the risk. And look, food trucks can work beautifully. However, the ones we see at this stage, most of the time aren't a profit center. They become a vanity project, and they eat into the owner's time and almost become a distraction to the actual business. And here's why. So while a food truck sounds low risk, no rent, no long-term lease, you can just use it when you're ready, just you and the streets. But the costs add up fast. So you got the vehicle, you got the fit out, you got the compliance, you got the permits. Hell, there's heaps of them for sale, but they all need some work, and it can chew up months of your time on top of the council fees, the fuel, the staff. And the number one complaint we hear from owners all the time, is trusting someone to drive it. You'll find someone, and I promise you, they're going to run into something. And then there's a revenue problem. A food truck has a hard ceiling on it, a hard ceiling on what it can turn over in a day. You're limited to by how many covers are going to fit through the window. So the profitable food trucks that we've seen, they do one thing really well. They go where the money is. So the events, the corporate catering, the markets with the strongest foot traffic. They don't wander, they're booked 3 months ahead. Now, if you're in this situation and you've got opportunity for more bookings, maybe this is going to work. So if you're thinking a food truck, the question isn't, can I cook? The question is, do I have the pipeline to make it financially viable? And if you've got a bunch of catering and you've already got a catering arm, you've got event contracts and you've got wedding inquiries and you've got a market residency locked in, it's a great idea. But if you're out there just a food truck and you're gonna go out and hit the streets and hoping it's gonna work, I promise you there's better ways to do it. Path 2, second venue, same concept. this is the most common expansion move. And it's also the one that humbles a lot of people fast, which sounds terrible, but it does. And usually the thinking goes, we know how to do this. We've already got a proven model. We've got a proven concept. Let's just do the same again in a different location. And to be honest, the logic is sound in theory. The problem is that everything that makes your first venue work is probably you. And it's not the big things, it's the little things. Your relationships with the suppliers, your standard of service and your presence, your ability to jump in when the kitchen goes sideways or that chef calls in sick on a Saturday night. So if the business relies on you being present, opening a second location doesn't double your business. All it does is halve your attention. And I want you to understand that. Opening a second location doesn't double your business, it halves your attention. I had a client who was a brilliant operator, like brilliant business. Capo was doing great numbers and he opened a second location. Within 4 months, he was all of a sudden working 90 hours a week. Both locations were struggling and his best 2 staff members had quit. Not because he was bad at his job, just because the systems that lived in his head couldn't be in 2 places at once. And that's when we started working with him. So the second location had the same concept and it can absolutely work, but only if your first location can run totally without you for 2 weeks straight and you wouldn't lose sleep over it. You wouldn't need a phone call. So if you've got a GM or a senior manager who runs the place like an owner and you have documented systems that you can take and copy and paste, you're working on the business, not in it at all. You're ready to go. But if you're still the first one in and the last one out and you have to cover on service, you've got some work to do first. And that's okay as well. Let's get it done right. Path 3, a second venue, different concept. This one's interesting. The allure here is variety and you're creative. So you're bored of the same thing and you want to create something new. And this is what you're great at. This is what you do. And again, I get it. Hospitality owners are creative. You don't just want to photocopy yourself. You want to do something different. You want to feel something different. You want to bring something new. And that's beautiful. But the financial reality of a brand new concept, everything you've built, your supplier relationships, your staff knowledge, your menu muscle memory, your customer base, your service standards, none of that transfers. You're essentially starting from scratch in a brand new category with a brand new brand while trying to maintain your existing location. New concepts take longer to find their feet. First year losses are pretty common. And if you're doing all of this while your original business still requires your attention, this path isn't impossible. We just need to do a few things first. Because some of the most successful multi-site operators I know run completely different concepts all under one group, but they didn't do it at 22K a week. They did it from a much stronger position with capital reserves, a leadership team, and a proven track record of system building. So if you have genuine capital to absorb 12 months worth of losses and your existing location is fully systemized and you're not doing this out of boredom, this could be for you. However, if you're doing this to escape your real problems from your current location, we just got some work to do first before we start. Path 4, going up market, fine dining. And there's this one, the prestige play. You're in hospitality, you care about your food, and somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a version of you running a beautiful 40-seater restaurant with a 7-course menu, a killer wine list, and some beautiful name above the door with an amazing fit out. And you know what? I understand it completely, but fine dining is its own brutal category. And the economics are nothing like what you're used to. The average spend per head is high, but everything else, labor costs and fine dining, are among the highest in the industry. The kitchen team required, the skill level to find skilled staff, the front of house standards, the product quality, the wastage from seasonal menus, it all stacks up and it all compounds. And it's why we're seeing a push in the industry going back to casual dining. Occupancy here is everything. A fine dining restaurant that's 60% full isn't an okay restaurant. It's a struggling one. We need to be booked out. You're also building a completely different customer relationship. You're not a neighborhood cafe people just pop into 3 times a week. You're a specialty occasion destination that people visit maybe twice a year. The market, the brand, the experience, the design, it's a completely different game. Some of the most respected chefs and restaurateurs I've encountered run fine dining at a loss because it builds their profile. The money is made elsewhere. Events, consulting, product lines, media. It's a tough gig. So if you have a clear picture of your target customer, you understand the economics, there's a gap in the market, and you have a team that's capable of executing at that level consistently, this is maybe for you. But if you think premium pricing automatically means more profit, let's not do it. All right, so let's be practical about this. Every expansion decision comes down to the same handful of questions. Now, I'm going to walk you through them. And what I want you to do is I want you to actually answer these honestly. Not the answer that you want to give, not the, oh, well, sometimes, or, oh, maybe. I want you to give me the honest answer because you're only lying to yourself. The first one, can your current location run without you for 2 weeks? Now, not limp along, not run with you like taking a phone call, run well. And if the answer is no, that's your first project. Not expansion, not anything else. This thing needs to run like a well-oiled machine for at least 2 weeks. And you need to come back and it needs to be the same or better than what you left it. All right, question 2. Do you know your food cost percentage from last week? Like right now, off the top of your head. Not last month, not the week before last week off the top of your head. And if you're not tracking this weekly, you don't have the financial visibility to manage one location safely, let alone 2. Question 3, what is your gross profit per cover? And I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it. This number tells you everything. So you can have a packed room full of customers and terrible margins, or a quieter room with healthy margins. So my question is, do you know yours? Could you defend it if someone started asking questions about it or poking holes in it? And are you confident with it? All right, question 4. Do you have 6 months of operating costs in reserve? New locations don't hit their stride in month 1 or month 2 or month 3. So if you're opening anything new without a proper strong capital buffer, you're one bad quarter away from some really hard decisions and a heap of stress. Question 5, are you expanding towards something or away from something? This is the question most people don't ask themselves and answer honestly. Because of the truth, some of the worst expansion decisions that we've ever seen, including the ones that ended up closing multiple locations, leaving broken owners, broken relationships, wasn't the concept being wrong. It was their owners using expansion as an escape hatch, escaping the difficult team situation, escaping the boredom of a concept that no longer excites them, escaping the feeling that they should be further along than where they are right now. So what you need to understand is you can't outrun your problems by building something new. The problems just come with you every single time. So we want to expand because your current business is strong and you're ready to build on that foundation, not because you're thinking something new is just going to fix what's broken. Okay, so you've been honest with yourself and maybe you're not ready to expand yet, which is totally okay. Or maybe you are. We just want to make sure we do it the right way. So here's what I tell every owner at the $20,000 to $25,000 a week stage. Step 1, we want to optimize before we scale. So we want to get our margins where they should be first. Our food costs under 30%, our labor under 35 or as close to it as possible, and our gross profit per cover tracked weekly. Not as an aspirational target, just as plain operational standards. Because the mass, if you're sitting at a 5% profit on $22,000 a week, and we can tighten that up and get you to a 12% profit, not only you've doubled your profit, but you've also added $1,540 a week straight into your pocket, which is an extra $80,000 a year before you touch a single new thing. Now, step 2, we're gonna build the systems that travel. What do I mean? What are systems that make your venue work? Write them down, get them out of your head. The training manuals, opening and closing checklists, rostering frameworks, supplier relationships, customer service standards. We want to get them all on autopilot. So if those live in your head, they can't be replicated anywhere else. They still need you. And then step 3, we want to build a leadership layer. You need someone, ideally a GM or a senior front of house or a senior someone in the kitchen, who genuinely runs a place when you're not there. Not someone you trust just to cope, but we want people who are going to lead. This is almost always the bottleneck for expansion. It's not the money, it's not the concept, it's the people, and it's being able to scale the leadership so it operates without you. Now, step 4, we want to get clear on why expand in the first place. Is it to build wealth? Is it to create a legacy? Is it to give you more time and more freedom? Different goals point to different expansion strategies. So if it's wealth, the most direct path is often to deepen your existing operation before widening it. If it's a legacy and a brand, a second location with a strong concept can be absolutely right. If it's your time or freedom, nothing will give you that until the first location is systemized. Nothing at all. So let me tell you what expansion actually looks like when it goes right. So we've got an owner in their 4th year. And cafe, $23,000 a week, the strong product offering, they got a loyal customer base, and she'd been thinking about a second location for 2 years and almost pulled the trigger on a food truck twice. But before she did anything, we spent 90 days just tightening up her current location. So we got a food cost from 34% down to 28%. A new senior manager was trained up to run the morning service independently of her. We got weekly reporting in place. Food costs, labor cost, gross profit per cover, all tracked and reviewed every single Monday in a structured meeting. And at the end of 90 days, she took 2 weeks off, which was the first real break in 3 years. And when she came back, the business had run almost identically without her. The numbers were in about 2% of other weeks. And that's when we started planning expansion. Not from desperation, not from boredom, not from anything else other than a business that was just genuinely ready and an owner who had the scope to do it. So she opened a second cafe 14 months later in a different suburb, same concept, refined slightly from what she learned earlier. And within 6 months, the second location was matching the first without all the stress. And that's what it looks like when it works. It's not lucky, it's just sequenced, it's planned, it's done correctly. Look, I'm not saying don't grow. I love growth. I'm saying let's grow in the right order. You work too hard to build what you have, to let expansion undo it. So the owners who build great multi-site businesses are the ones who moved the fastest. They're the ones who were the most honest with themselves about what and when they're actually ready. So here's the only question that matters. Is your current location strong enough to be duplicated? Or does it still need you to do some work because it's still in survival mode? And answer that honestly. And the right next move becomes pretty obvious. So if you're not sure, that's what we do. We go inside businesses at exactly this stage, and we help owners get clear on what the problems are, where the strengths are, and what the right next move actually looks like. So there's a link in the description if you want to talk. First conversation's free. We'll see you at the next one.